Germany versus Scotland turned out to be quite a one-sided fixture, right? Unexpected, to be honest, because the way Scottish fans were hyping it up before the game progressed, right? I think it was, I don't know, man. I wouldn't say I was shocked, but then, yeah, expected from a team like Scotland, right? At least the basics should have been right. I mean, there was such a massive misunderstanding between the defense, the midfield. You couldn't read the game well. Um, Germany have technical players who can play in those small pockets and spaces, right? And then you have the Scottish midfield, which isn't that good. You've got a Scott McTominay who's okay. I don't think he had the best game, obviously, but then the guy next to him, McGregor, he was absolutely abysmal to watch. What do you feel, bro? What do you feel about the game?
I feel I didn't really consider Germany as one of the favorites going into the competition. Not saying I didn't think they didn't have a good squad. I just didn't really like pay them too much mind compared to the other ones. But watching
Yeah.
that game, just from defensively, the solid partnership of Rudiger and Tar at the back, obviously Neuer, the experience of him, and I can't remember the left back name for Germany, but he was up and down that left wing, providing that overlap. Like the system that they were playing that Nagelsmann set them up was lovely. Like as you said, Wirtz, Gundogan, and Musiala were just taking up the pockets alongside with Havertz, and it was just lovely to see Kroos just dictate and play. Like it was a lovely game of football from Germany specifically. Like and none other than Musiala, I think, probably deserves man of the match.
Yeah, I mean, he put in a good shift, and then you have Jonathan Tah and Rudiger, who occupied Shea Adams at all times. I mean, he couldn't compete with them physically. He was losing each and every duel. And I don't really blame him, to be honest. I don't even think he got tested to that extent. He was isolated up front, right? I think they lined up in a 5-4-1 formation off the ball. They were defending too deep. But the problem is when your center halves are not playing wide, right? When they're not taking any sort of a risk in this situation. They're supposed to be stepping off from the line, go on a high line, maybe get into the midfield and try winning those balls. It was so easy for Cruz to find Gundogan or Musiala in those small spaces, in the mid spaces, right? It was so easy for them. That's just one way of obstructing the opposition's build up, right? And that's something which they couldn't defy, right? So Scotland, I think technically they are a very poor quality team, right? I don't see any player standing out for me. Even McGinn, these aren't players who can actually play up front on a fucking left mid position or you can't expect them to be flary, right? You need some
Yeah,
sort of a flair in your attack too. You had nothing, to be honest. They had nothing to offer. And I don't know. I think even Ryan Christie looked so off his game, The moment he'd be on the ball, he'd lose it. You'd see a Jonathan Tah or even an Andrish. I think Andrish had an okayish game, but then he's not a pure ball winner, but still, Cruz deserved someone who'd play better next to him, you know?
yeah. I think ultimately, yeah, Scotland clearly weren't the best team, but Germany really played well. Like that system that they were playing, the rotation between Wirtz and Musiala and Gundogan just picking up the space and Havertz, just laying it off and allowing the attack to tick. It was nice. The goals that they scored, like the first goal, it came from nice build up, a switch from Kroos. Like it was nice to see Germany like play the football that they were playing and also score the goals and obviously it was share the goals. So it was interesting to see, like, because I feel like when it gets to the latter stages of this competition, I feel like it's going to be real good games because there's a high level of like amount of players playing in these national teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The funny thing is, people were actually pointing out to the fact that Germany don't really have enough goal scorers, right, before the game, before the tournament commenced, right? I was I actually sided by that. I thought they might struggle in scoring goals, but then one thing is that this is a weak opposition that they're facing. What if they would have faced Spain, or what if in the knockout stages they get to face someone who is as good as the French or maybe England, right? So this is just maybe a one-off, right? We can't really create an assessment from one performance, but this is definitely going to be a good um, a booster, confidence booster for them, right? Going into the other games. I think it'll be easy for them to beat Hungary and Switzerland from here on.
And considering obviously they're the home nation, so there's going to be pressure on them to perform. I think Germany haven't done well in the last two international competitions that they've crashed out the group stages, I'm pretty sure. So for them, like obviously, yeah, it will be at Scotland. I'm not saying Scotland are like completely rubbish, but they're not the best. But you still have to play football. Like I feel like Germany wouldn't have had to play their best football to have beat Scotland today, but I feel like today they did, if you know what I mean. So it was interesting to see, you know, the options that they had and how they played. Like the words Musiala, you know, floating tens. I feel like it's a lovely sight to see because they're both good. Like Musiala is a lovely player, like ball carrying, dribbling, you know, ghosting into positions, receiving in tight spaces, and obviously works the position, the pockets that he picks up, his ability to drive, his willingness to shoot. He had a lot of chances today to score a lot of goals. Like I feel like they're both great players, isn't it? And obviously, shout out to my boy Kai Havertz up front. Obviously, will be a penalty, but you
Yeah.
know, getting his goal. Obviously,
Honestly, till the 20th minute mark before the goal started coming in, I was wondering what is Havertz up to, right? And I get it because the system was played in a way where they wanted three players up front, Wirtz, Havertz, and Musiala, right? So they were rotating a lot, and Havertz was busy occupying the defenders too, right? So his job mostly was to like just ensure that they're getting deceived, right? They're getting drawn in, and Gundogan initially, I think the Germans had a slow start, right? Because they were not that tenacious, but then at the same time, there was something in them, like you mentioned. They have standout players, and when you have standout players, the only way of stopping them is if you're technically too good at the back, right? That's what again you can't really compare it. Again, I knew that Scotland are gonna fucking lose the game, right? That's where this I got this hunch even before the game started, right? I
yeah,
knew maybe Andy Robertson or Tierney might have that flair option of like just pushing themselves ahead and then might just connect well with Megan or might just connect or link up well ahead. But then that option wasn't even presented to them, right? They had no opportunity of such sort. So I don't know, man. I mean, I was quite disappointed to be honest. Even with Robertson and Tierney, I think defensively their side was affected the most. They looked the most vulnerable. They were pummeled. And I thought that own goal from Rudiger was something which he always has those moments in games where he stands out. Rudiger had a top class performance barring that own goal.
yeah. And you know, that's just old Rudiger for you. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see, obviously, uh, how Germany do in this competition, obviously, as well as being the home squad. Obviously, as you said, their group is favorable for them, especially now that they've got, you know, high goal difference and the win on the first game puts pressure on the other two teams. But yeah, man, I feel like this Euros is gonna be a good Euros. I have a good feeling about it. I don't know about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I feel it's gonna be quite. I think it'll be upsetting for the major teams, to be honest. I don't see France winning this season. I don't know why. I don't think this edition of the Euros is not going to be won by the French. I think England might take it. I don't see the Spanish doing it either. I
Yeah,
think Spain don't really have that. They seem solid on paper, but when it comes to replicating that performance on the pitch, they go missing. I think I don't really trust Morata up front, right? He's leading the pack. Um, he's had a very hot and cold season in totality, right?
yeah. And my pick is gonna be Portugal.
Oh
As you
fuck, I forgot about Portugal, bro. I
Portugal's
forgot about them.
that's my team. We'll see. We'll see after like the first round of each games how each team play, what the lineup is and stuff. So
Yeah.
interesting, man. But yeah, man.
But it's kind of funny, right? Because when you talk about Portugal too, I think Bernardo Silva is one player who never clicks for them, right? Have you wondered, like, maybe it's just like too many talents being trying to like
Uh,
push
yeah.
into one
But
team and then they never click?
I feel like now their squad has arrived at a stage where the young talents that they had are at a good age. They're not like 21, 22 anymore. They're like 23, 24.
Yeah,
And they still have some senior talent. They had like Pepe and Cristiano Ronaldo around who, you know, will maintain the standards, who are still hungry, who are still experienced, you know, within these competitions. And I feel, yeah, even though they do have a lot of talent, I feel like it's better to have more talent than to not have talent at all, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
talent is what's going to take you because international football is a lot about the individual moments and the individual quality that you have compared to your opponent. And 9 times out of 10,
Okay,
uh,
I think we should push the narrative before we end the show.
yeah.
Just one last point I wanted to touch base on is: do you think Scotland stand a chance against Hungary and Switzerland, given that they've
Uh,
taken a goal now?
uh, yeah, they stand a chance. They've won. I think it's a third place goes through as well, or at least a few third places go through. So
Yeah,
that's obviously a positive. They just need to at least get 3 points on the board, and they face the hardest team first. So realistically, it only gets easier from here, in inverted commas. Uh, Hungary, although I think they've been unbeaten for the last like 18 games, which I guess bodes well for them. And Switzerland, I feel like have always been a good team. You know, they've
yeah,
had consistent players. They're a good team in these competitions. So it won't be easy, but I think like especially getting a smacking that they got today, I feel like the players are not gonna like, they didn't really touch the ball, they didn't really do anything.
they
So
did.
the goal was nice, but it came from a free kick. So realistically, I'm pretty sure there are players within that team that want to play football that can feel like they can, do what they can do, and maybe against these other teams where there's not the same level of quality and football. Like Germany have players all over the pitch that are playing for some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Compared to Hungary, maybe you might have one or two, like Szoboszlai, for example, playing for Liverpool. But apart from
Yeah,
him, how many others around the team are, playing at that level? Not saying they're not good, but when it comes to it, can take your chances. How
yeah.
about you?
The funny thing is that I think it was more of nerves, right, than their quality on the pitch, right, for Scotland, right? I don't think it was more about. I think obviously when it comes to the opener of a competition, especially facing a home team like Germany, obviously you're going to be like little nervous, and then now facing teams like Switzerland and Hungary might not be that bad, to be honest. I think this is not the game that we are going to be seeing from them. I think it'll be more of a very wholesome performance is what I'm expecting, right?
Yeah,
Now, I don't know why was Ryan Christie pushed in ahead as a number 9, right? When the red card was given, he was pushed up ahead. You saw Shea Adams was taken off, and they still had a fucking striker on the bench. And then he brought him on in the 80th minute. I
yeah,
mean, the manager went wrong with the substitutions too. Ryan Christie technically is a midfielder who plays as a center midfielder in Bournemouth, right? On the right side.
yeah,
So I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it's just baffling to watch some of the decisions which were made from the manager's end too, and overall the performance was an absolute letdown.